Hello, come with me and let me teach you how to make some simple homemade bread. We're going to need 300 grams of warm water and 3 level teaspoons of dry active yeast. Next, we're going to have about 10 grams of olive oil, we're going to add our flour. I am doing a mixture of whole grain flour and all-purpose flour. So I'm going to put in about a cup of whole grain. You want 500 grams of flour. Whole grain soaks up a lot of water, so you may have to increase your water a little bit, but wait till you see what the whole grain does. We're going to add a little bit of black pepper for flavor. You can leave it out, you don't need it. I just like to flavor my bread. It's 1 teaspoon of black pepper and about a teaspoon of sea salt. I use sea salt. You can use any salt that you want. I prefer the taste of sea salt. Now, let's mix up the bread. Grab your bowl of water. We're going to use that to prevent our hands from sticking. Instead of using flour, I prefer to use the water so I don't get extra flour in my bread. Now you notice I did not proof up the yeast. That's okay, depending on what you're making. A lot of times in bread, you really don't need to proof up your yeast. It will proof up by itself in the bread. So you really don't need to proof it up first. So that cuts back on time. And it actually works just fine. Now if your yeast is not fresh or has been sitting for a long time, always watch your expiration date. Then you might need to proof it. But if your yeast is just something you just bought, then you don't need to do that. At this point, don't worry about perfection. Of course, no bread is perfect. The rougher the bread, actually, the tastier. So, just keep going. Okay. So it is nice and together now. So what I'm going to do is put a little tiny bit of oil I suggest you put it in your hands first because you might overdo it. And then turn your dough upside down so you can see not a whole bunch of mess in my hand. With bread making, you have to trust the process. And you have to be patient because the more patient you are, the more flavorful your bread will be. We're going to cover this for an hour and we'll be back in an hour. All right, while that is rising, we're going to prepare our pan. Very easy way to get your pan. Parchment paper. Never fails. All right, so for it to be easier for you, let's bundle it. Open it back up. And it'll be easier to lay in there. There you go. The parchment paper is ready. Fix it up, make it nice. Nothing fancy schmancy. And you're ready. Now here we are with our bread. raising all the way to the top. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to stretch it out. So you're gonna grab it and stretch and put it in. It's gonna deflate, that's fine. It's supposed to do that. Just keep stretching it and folding it over. You grab and you fold it over. Okay? If it gets too stiff, just go this way, grab and fold it. You're gonna keep doing this until it's nice and smooth on the other side. Once it all comes together like that, it's time to put it in your pan. When I tell you that this is easy bread making, it's really easy bread making. So you grab your bread and you want to make it into a round ball. Now see how the bottom is? Just pinch that. Pinch it a little bit to come together. You may have to go over it twice. That's fine. And then you get it like that. And then you are going to put it into your pan. That's it. Okay. Cover it up. Cover it up. And let it rise for another hour. It might be less than an hour, but just keep an eye. You don't want it to overflow. And there you go. All right, we'll be back in an hour. Okay, here we are. This was actually 45 minutes later. Heat your oven, 375. And we're gonna bake this for 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven. So I'm gonna brush this with a little bit of water so I can put my topping on it. I don't have eggs, and so I am using some water so my topping sticks. Can you guess what topping I'm gonna be using? Everything bagel. That's my favorite topping. So I'm gonna put sprinkle some everything bagel on here. And just top it a little bit and make sure it's in there. Oops, putting a little bit too much there. That's okay. The more the better, right? All right, so after all of that, you put it in the oven. You can use butter, but I find that water sticks better. Okay, time for the oven. It looks beautiful already, doesn't it? Fresh out of the oven. Smells so good. Comes right out. And there you have it. Isn't that beautiful? It's too hot right now for me to take the paper out, but once it cools, it'll slip right off. Get your butter ready. Don't forget to let it cool before you cut into it so it's not gummy. Okay? All right. See you next time for another recipe of easy, no-knead homemade bread. Bon appetit!